Well, let's see now the bottom. Let's assume now the bottom 25% has 10% share. The second 25% has 20% share. The third has 30% share, and the last group D has 40% share. Uh, let's get this to the to graph. Of course, when we take it to the graph, we have bottom 25, bottom 50, bottom 75, and bottom 100%, basically. We start with 10%, and then 20% is added, it becomes 30%. So this 50 includes the share of bottom 50, 25% plus the share of the second 25%. Then we add 30%, we got 60%, and then we add the last 40% and get this. So if we want to draw the Lorentz curve, of course, we also want the overall triangle. So we need to, actually we don't need this. Okay, we need to have, let's have this. You're right, equal share case. Done. Which is Lorentz curve. For X, now we need to have the income, the population share values. For Y, we need to have the income share values. Okay, something like this. Well, if you really want to make it more interesting, in that case, I mean, you might make them move them line here. I'm sorry, not this one, but the other one. Yes, now you can see. And let's also limit this to 100. So we need to calculate the actually ultimately we need to get area between the blue and the yellow line, but since it is difficult for us to calculate that line, we need to rather find the value between the under the yellow line. That would be more easy. And actually, if you make the units 25 and 5, you can see also here 10, or make this also 10. You can see that actually we are able to see the intersection points. So we have here a triangle, here a rectangle and triangle, here a rectangle and a triangle, and at the end also a rectangle and a triangle, basically. So when we calculate the area A, which is, let's say, this area, I mean, the area of the first triangle, which measures, which ends at this point. I mean, the area which well, at the bottom we have 25% share of the population, and at the as a vertical line we have the share of the 25% population. So this area is represented by a triangle. So we can find that area by multiplying, well, basically 25 times well, 25 times this, the share of the 25%. The second area, B, is more complex. We have a rectangle here, and rectangle is 25 times share of the previous group, which is 25 times share of the previous group is this. By the way, this is the previous one was a triangle, so I should basically divide it to 2. But anyway, plus next 25%, this is this triangle, times share of the second group, 30%. But now I should multiply this with 0,5 since this is triangle. So this should also be multiplied by 0.5 since this is a triangle. For the C, we get exactly the same formula. 25% times share of the previous group. I'm sorry. We should get share of the previous 25%. I was meaning that. So, moment, let me do it here. So here I should basically take the difference between this 30% and 10% because we are trying to get the share of them. Well, next share of the second 25%. So here actually for the third area, we need to calculate the rectangle. We need the share of the the bottom 50% and then share of the third 25%. So for the rectangle, we calculate again 25% with this quantity, and then we add 25% times difference between this number and this number, which gives us share of the third 25%, and then we multiply it with 0.5. For D, we need to calculate the same way, 25% times 60%, this is the rectangle, plus 25% times 100 minus 60, 0.5. Total area of is basically sum of all of this area. This is Turkish for sum, and this total area B. This is the complete total area is 100 times 100. So area A is, well, basically I should calculate 100 times 100 times 0/5, and to calculate the area A, I should subtract from this number, and to calculate the Gini coefficient, I should basically divide the area A to the total area. So my Gini coefficient is in this case actually very low, 0.25%. If we calculate, for example, Gini coefficient for the US wealth, let's do that actually, approximately at least. So Bottom 40% is 0.2. Let's assume that, of course, I mean, now we have 20%, basically. That will make it more difficult. We should calculate it for 20%, basically. For now, actually, let's assume bottom 25% has 0% share. Let's say 50% has around 10% share. 75% has around, let's say, it should be more than 10, of course. 30% share, and rest belongs to the top 25%. In that case, Gini coefficient has increased to 0.55, basically. In extreme case, Gini coefficient, but here there should be something wrong with the calculation. It should be actually 1. Gini coefficient should be 1 when no one is getting anything except the very bottom 100, basically. This is the case actually almost. I mean, in this case it's not 1 because I assume that in the bottom, in the top 25%, the distribution is equal. The very extreme case is, however, the case when only 1% in the society has everything, basically. In that case, it's completely, the Gini coefficient will become completely 1. And the other extreme case is when I have equal distribution. In that case, Gini coefficient is basically 0. And you can play with the numbers. And here you can, I also have a formula, but that formula is actually not that much necessary. Just looking to the areas and thinking about how to calculate the areas should work. I mean, I don't know, I have learned how to calculate the area of trapezoid and the high school, I think in secondary school actually. But I also have a formula, but formula itself is very complex, so I would strongly suggest you to just calculate these areas one by one. So, besides the Gini coefficient, the one of the variables that is used a lot to measure inequality is the percentile, basically. In order to calculate percentile, you just assume there is a hypothetical line from the person who has least of the share of the particular variable, least wage, least wage, or least wealth, or least income, and you basically line up people up to the person who has most of the what you are measuring, most income, most wealth, most wage, and 10 percentile, 90 percentile value is the value which is just above the 90% of your population and below the 10% of your population. So it's exactly, if you have 100 people, 90, the wage that 90% gets is the 10%, 90 percentile wage, actually. So in any way, 90% of your population should be below that wage level, and 10% should be above that wage level, basically. So you have, similarly, you can have 70 percentile wage, 25 percentile wage, or 10 percentile wage, where only 10% of the population gets below that wage level. And basically, the most popular percentile wages that is percentile values that are calculated are 10th, 25th, 50th, which is exactly middle, that's the median level, 75th, 90th, and for the top, sometimes you can also calculate 90, 99, 95, 99, 99.99. Basically, you can go extreme percentile values at the top in some cases. So these are the values of the percentile wages, but this is for specific groups. Los Angeles janitors, those are the people who work at the house and basically look after the needs of the house, basically. So exactly same profession, and you can see distribution among them. We will look in detail to this distribution in the next